The morning sky stretched endlessly blue above Flight 447, painted with wisps of white clouds that looked like cotton candy against the vast canvas. Captain James Mitchell adjusted his headset and glanced at the instruments before him, their familiar glow providing comfort after 23 years of flying. The commercial airliner hummed steadily through the peaceful air, carrying 147 passengers toward their destination. In seat 12A, 8-year-old Emma Rodriguez pressed her face against the small window, watching the world shrink below. Her pink teddy bear hoodie was soft against her chin as she peered down at the patchwork of fields and roads that looked like a miniature model train set. This was her first time flying alone, traveling to visit her grandmother in Denver. Her mother had packed her favorite stuffed animal, Mr. Buttons, in her carry-on bag, but Emma kept him close, finding comfort in his familiar presence. The flight attendants moved gracefully through the aisles, offering drinks and snacks with practiced smiles. Everything felt routine and safe, just as it should on a clear Tuesday morning. Captain Mitchell had checked the weather reports twice before takeoff. Clear skies ahead, minimal turbulence expected, perfect conditions for flying, but the sky can change in an instant. At exactly 10:47 a.m., 15,000 feet above the Colorado mountains, the first warning light flickered on the control panel. Captain Mitchell frowned, his experienced eyes scanning the instruments. The hydraulic pressure gauge was dropping steadily, its needle falling like a stone into dangerous territory. "Tom, are you seeing this?" he asked his co-pilot, Tom Harrison, who was already reaching for the emergency checklist. "Hydraulic failure? Primary and secondary systems," Tom replied, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "We're losing control authority." The airplane began to shudder. Not the gentle bounce of turbulence that passengers barely notice, but a deep, mechanical trembling that seemed to come from the very bones of the aircraft. In the cabin, people looked up from their books and magazines, sensing something was wrong. Emma felt it too. The steady hum of the engines had changed, becoming uneven and strained. She hugged Mr. Buttons tighter and looked around the cabin. The flight attendants were moving quickly now, their calm masks slipping just slightly. In the cockpit, Captain Mitchell's hands moved across the controls with practiced precision, but nothing responded as it should. The steering wheel felt heavy and sluggish in his grip, like trying to steer a car with flat tires. The airplane was becoming increasingly difficult to control, fighting against his every input. "We're going into an uncontrolled descent," Tom announced, his voice tight with concentration. "I'm declaring an emergency." The radio crackled as Tom contacted air traffic control. "Mayday, mayday, mayday. Flight 447 experiencing total hydraulic failure. We are in an uncontrolled descent. Requesting immediate vectors to nearest airport." The response came back immediately. "Flight 447, roger your mayday. Denver International is 40 miles southwest. Can you maintain altitude?" Captain Mitchell tried again to level the aircraft, pulling back on the controls with both hands. The plane responded sluggishly, rising slightly before dropping again. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he realized the horrifying truth. They were losing the battle against gravity and physics. "Negative, Denver. We cannot maintain altitude. We're going down." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. In all his years of flying, through countless emergencies and challenging conditions, Captain Mitchell had never felt this helpless. The airplane was no longer flying. It was falling with style, and even that style was rapidly deteriorating. In the cabin, the passengers could feel the descent now. The pressure change made their ears pop, and the uneven motion of the aircraft made stomachs lurch. Some people gripped their armrests, while others closed their eyes and prayed. The flight attendants moved through the cabin, checking seatbelts and preparing for the worst. Emma watched it all with the peculiar clarity that sometimes comes to children in moments of crisis. She saw the fear in the adults' faces, heard the change in the engine sounds, felt the airplane struggle against forces beyond its control. But instead of panic, she felt something else entirely, a strange sense of calm and curiosity. She unbuckled her seatbelt. "Honey, you need to keep your seatbelt on," said the flight attendant, Sarah, as she hurried past. "I need to help," Emma said simply. Sarah paused, struck by the certainty in the child's voice. Help with what, sweetie? The airplane is sick, Emma explained, standing up despite the plane's erratic motion. I can feel it, it's scared. Before Sarah could respond, Emma was walking toward the front of the plane, her small hand trailing along the seat backs for balance. She moved with purpose, as if she knew exactly where she was going. In the cockpit, Captain Mitchell was exhausted. His arms ached from fighting the controls, and his mind was racing through every possible solution. They had tried everything in the book and several things that weren't. The ground was getting closer, and their options were running out. James, Tom said quietly, I don't think we're going to make it. Captain Mitchell looked at his friend and co-pilot, a man he had flown with for 8 years. They had been through storms and mechanical failures together, but nothing like this. He was about to respond when he heard a small voice behind him. Excuse me. Both pilots turned to see Emma. Standing in the doorway of the cockpit, her teddy bear hoodie slightly wrinkled from the turbulent ride. Her eyes were bright and curious, showing no sign of the fear that gripped the adults around her. You shouldn't be here, sweetheart, Captain Mitchell said gently, despite the crisis. It's not safe. The airplane is trying to tell you something, Emma said, stepping into the cockpit. But you're not listening. Tom started to protest, but Captain Mitchell held up a hand. There was something in the child's voice, a certainty that seemed to cut through the chaos of the moment. What is it trying to tell us? He asked. Emma approached the control panel, her small fingers hovering over the instruments. It's not broken, she said softly. It's just confused. The signals are mixed up. She pointed to a switch that neither pilot had touched during the emergency. It was part of the backup electrical system, normally used only during maintenance. Try this one. Captain. Mitchell looked at Tom, who shrugged. They had exhausted all conventional options. What did they have to lose? Captain Mitchell flipped the switch Emma had indicated. For a moment, nothing happened. Then slowly, the airplane began to respond. The controls felt lighter in his hands, and the erratic shuddering smoothed into a more manageable vibration. My God, Tom whispered. We're getting hydraulic pressure back. The backup electrical system had reset the hydraulic control computers, clearing the fault that had been causing the total system failure. It was a solution so simple that it hadn't appeared in any of their emergency checklists, yet it was exactly what the airplane needed. How did you know? Captain Mitchell asked Emma as he carefully brought the aircraft back to level flight. Emma smiled, a sweet, innocent expression that seemed to light up the cockpit. I listen to things, she said. My mom says I have good ears. The airplane was humming a different song, and I could hear what it really wanted to say. With the controls responding again, Captain Mitchell was able to guide Flight 447 to a safe landing at Denver International Airport. Fire trucks and ambulances waited on the runway, but they weren't needed. The airplane touched down smoothly, and the passengers erupted in applause. As the aircraft taxied to the gate, Captain Mitchell turned to Emma, who was still standing in the cockpit, now holding Mr. Buttons tightly. Thank you, he said simply. You saved all of us. Emma nodded seriously. The airplane saved us, she corrected. I just helped it remember how. Later, as the passengers disembarked and the incident was reported to aviation authorities, Captain Mitchell would struggle to explain exactly what had happened. The technical solution was documented and would eventually become part of emergency training for other pilots. But the real story, the story of a little girl who listened when others had given up, would become legend among the flight crew. Emma's grandmother was waiting at the gate, tears in her eyes as she hugged her granddaughter. I heard there was some trouble on your flight, she said. Emma looked back at the airplane through the terminal window. It's okay now, she said. Sometimes grown-ups forget to listen. But airplanes are like people, they just need someone to understand them. As they walked through the airport together, Emma's grandmother marveled at the child's calm demeanor. She had just been through a life-threatening emergency, yet she seemed more concerned about the airplane's feelings than her own safety. Grandma, Emma said as they collected her luggage, do you think all machines have feelings? Her grandmother smiled and squeezed her hand. I think, she said carefully, that some people have a special gift for understanding things that others cannot, and I think you might be one of those people. The story of Flight 447 would be told and retold in aviation circles for years to come. The official report would credit the successful outcome to unconventional troubleshooting procedures and exceptional crew resource management. But Captain Mitchell would always remember it differently. He would remember a little girl in a pink teddy bear hoodie who lisped,